Hello and welcome to Self-Advocacy 101. We are working on Module 1, Knowledge of Self, and we are in Topic 1.2, which is basic parts of an IEP. What we're going to be doing today is we're going to be looking at the sample IEP. It's going to look a little different from the enriched IEP that your teacher will be giving you, but it will give you a general idea of where to find these 6 components that you will be needing to find when you complete Activity 1 for this module. In that activity, you're going to be looking at your own IEP, looking for what it says, and making any suggestions or recommendations that you would like to have discussed at your next IEP meeting. Before we start, I want to take just a moment to normalize having an IEP and what that means as an individual with a disability. I myself am a student with a disability. I was originally diagnosed with a speech impediment as a small child when I said here and rabbit. Later, I would be diagnosed with a specific learning disability. Dyslexia is what I was originally then diagnosed for. Struggle with phonemic awareness, which affects my ability to both read unknown words and to also spell. As an adult, I was diagnosed with ADHD, which is, as you've already learned, part of the other health impairment category. It's very important as an individual with an IEP that you understand what's in your IEP because this is a legal document. It is controlled by the federal government. States are allowed to choose what they use to document, which is why you're going to see some differences between this sample and the enriched document that's done in South Carolina. However, because this is a legal document, it means that teachers should be meeting your accommodations. So if you have extended time for assignments, teachers need to give you extended time. Part of self-advocating for yourself is knowing what your accommodations are, and if they're not being met, knowing the correct guidelines and who to go to make sure that you do get your accommodations. So we're going to take a few moments and we're going to look at this sample IEP and we're going to pinpoint the 6 components of an IEP that you see over here. So the first part of this IEP is our basic student information. So we got this one right off the bat. So this basic student information is going to give you your student name, should give you the school that you're attending, the date of the IEP meeting, the date of eligibility, so originally getting services, and then the next date of review. IEPs are rewritten every year. The next part that we're going to look at is our present levels of performance. Sometimes special ed teachers who like to shorten things will call this a plop. So your plop, which is this dark part right here, is going to, usually in the very beginning, talk about your strengths, things that you're good at, things that teachers should be using to make sure that you are successful in the classroom. The second part of this, we're going to talk about weaknesses, and you'll see in here these really big names. These are all tests that have been given at some point to really break down and figure out where a student is struggling and also to explain where a student is performing compared to non-disabled peers. This just really gives us an idea of what accommodations would be useful for you as a student. You'll see in this IEP, this is a little bit different from your enriched document because this will come up at the beginning. You'll see a primary disability. You see a secondary disability. You'll also see special instructional considerations. These are not part of this basic components, but these are just things that your teachers need to think about before they draft your IEP. The next part that we're going to look at right here, I'm going to highlight it, is where you're looking at annual goals. You will notice that these goals are written as SMART goals, which we discuss later on in this module. It means that we know exactly what the student needs to be working on. We know what percentage makes sure that we've met the goal, and we know when this IEP goal should be met. It is time restricted. This student has a couple different goals in social skills and reading, and you might find that you have different goals for reading and math and writing. The next thing that we have is supplementary services and special education services. And that covers section 6. This just says how long you're in a special education placement and who would be working with you. Sometimes you'll have teachers' names, sometimes you won't. You'll just have a position like a speech language therapist or your special education teacher. The next section that we see here is transition services and goals in the state of South Carolina. We do this at age 13. This section just discusses, first of all, things that you like to do. You'll see over here, drawing and computers. We see an educational outcome, something that you want to do when you leave school. We will also identify transition needs or even training that you will need. So that might be, if you want to go to college, what it is that you're going to be majoring in college, along with what type of job you plan on doing. The last section that we're going to look at in this section is assessment modifications. This goes along with classroom testing and accommodations. So in this section, you're looking for what accommodations you get. So that might mean that you get extended time. It's very important to note that when you look at assessment modifications and we look at a classroom accommodations, that these should match. So if you get extended time in a classroom, you should be getting extended time on your testing. It's important that you get equitable services, which means you get it in both places. The last part that we're going to look at, which is not one of our 6 components, but you're going to see that at 18 in South Carolina, you have transfer of rights. That means at 18, you become the sole person who comes to your IEP meetings. Your parents do not have to come. You can invite them, but you don't have to. We also have the IEP development team. It's important to remember that IEPs are written in a team-like nature. You should be seeing these types of signatures. We should see parents or guardians or the student themselves. We should see LEA representative. That's just your legal educational agency representative, usually an assistant principal. You should have your special education teacher who's going over the information, your general education teacher. And at the age of 13, it is best practice that you are coming to your own IEPs because, again, this is a document all about you. You should have the most input in this. So I would like to thank you for sitting through this video tutorial. If you have any questions as you look at your own Enrich IEP, please reach out to either me or your special education teacher so that we can provide you with more assistance. And have a wonderful day.